Your Phil Steele Plus tour with selections for Friday, December the 17th. And up for you today, I've got 3 selections for you, 1 in the NFL, 2 in the bowl games. So let's just get started with it. Nice run once again. If we're going over the last 5 weeks, the Phil Steele Plus tour, 1-1 last week. Villanova blew that halftime lead against South Dakota State and came up short, but the under in Army-Navy cash for the 16th straight year. Yeah, next year when you tune in, I will have the under in Army-Navy. Sure didn't look good. They had, 2 touchdowns on the first 2 drives of the game. We got 14 points on the board. 2 drives, 14 points. Still went under the total. Nice winner there. So 28-14 over the last 5 weeks. Let's start off in the NFL. I didn't give you an NFL play last week, but there is an NFL play that I'm looking at this week, and it involves New England and Indianapolis on Saturday. It's a game between 2 of the big teams in the NFL fighting for playoff spots. And here's numerous things I like about New England this week. First of all, let's click over here and go to the NFL. If you click on the NFL information, you can get the strengths and wins, pain and losses for the NFL. Take a look at New England. New England has defeated 9 teams this year. Those teams have combined for 50 wins, so they beat some pretty good opponents. Indianapolis, meanwhile, has beaten 7 teams this year. Those teams have combined for just 29 wins. They play in a weak division, and they've only beaten teams that have won 29 games this year. You got the losses. New England has lost to teams that have lost 21 games. Indianapolis has, let's just go down here. New England, 50-21, basically, 70%. They are number 8 in the NFL. Indianapolis is down here, 29-28. In other words, they've beaten teams that have won 29 games. They've lost to teams that have lost 28 games. New England has lost to teams that have lost 21 games and beaten teams that have won 50. So a solid edge in New England. Right there, that says they're the better team. If you take a look also at the YPG, let's find that one. Phil Steele Plus, NFL Info, YPG. We see that New England is plus 32.8 yards per game above opponent averages, which is number 9 in the NFL. Indianapolis is down here at number 17 at plus 10.6. So once again, another metric saying New England's the pretty much better team than Indianapolis is here. Now, other things that I like in this game, let's click on New England, put New England on the left, Indianapolis on the right, is that the New England Patriots are on a run. You know me, my streaks. The Patriots are 7-0 straight up, 7-0 ATS run. You got to like that, going for 8 in a row this week. And then if you click here in the NFL, much like with the college, click on the game. It tells you what they've done against the opponent. They've won 6 straight against the Indianapolis Colts. So they've won 6 straight up. That's really all that matters. They're an underdog in this. New England's a 2.5 point underdog. So if they win the game straight up, they win. Now, how have the Patriots done on the road this year? Well, they beat the Jets. They beat Houston. They beat the Chargers. They beat Carolina. They beat Atlanta. And they beat Buffalo. So they're a perfect 6-0 on the road this year. How does Indianapolis do at home? They lost to Seattle. They lost to the Rams. They beat Houston. They lost to Tennessee. They beat the Jets, they beat Jacksonville, and they lost to Tampa Bay. They're 3-4 straight up at home. Any good team they face, they lost to at home. The only 3 teams they've beaten at home are Jacksonville, the Jets, and Houston, all a far cry from New England. So you've got that going for you. You've got the home away. You've got the streak. You've got the series dominance. And quite frankly, I just think the Patriots are the better team here, and they're getting 2.5 points. Ride the streak. Take the Patriots. They still haven't caught up to the fact that this New England team is good. We're going to go with New England, plus 2.5 over Indianapolis as your NFL play for the week. All right, let's take a look at a couple of college games, a couple of college bowl games. Bowl games start off today. I won't put anything on today's games in case you're tuning in on this Saturday morning, but there are 6 bowl games on Saturday morning, or on Saturday, I should say. And then there's another one on Monday and 2 more on Tuesday. I may be back on Wednesday next week. Make sure you subscribe and make sure you hit the bell on these because that way you'll find out when I put up the next one. It'll actually come right to you and let you know that the next one's up. With the bowls being choppy and all these bowl games and all these days, frankly, I don't know the next day I'm putting up Phil Steele Plus. Might be Wednesday of next week. And if it's Wednesday and you subscribe and you hit the bell, boom, you'll be notified and you'll be able to catch the Phil Steele Plus tour with selections. And we got bigger bowl games coming up. We're going to just dip our toes in the water here. I've got 2 bowl games for you. First one we're going to take a look at is Tulsa against Old Dominion. Now, CUSA, pretty crummy year for CUSA. A lot of bad teams in that league this year. Old Dominion took advantage of it. They opened up the season 1-6. Then they beat Louisiana Tech, FIU, FAU, Middle Tennessee, and Charlotte down the stretch to get to a bowl game. And it's pretty amazing when you look at this in the fact that last year Tulsa was in the AAC title game against Cincinnati. Gave them a great game. Almost beat them on the road. And then in the bowl game, they had a 484 to 271 yard edge against Mississippi State. Came up 2 points short. But that's how good Tulsa was last year. Old Dominion didn't even play football last year. So had this game taken place at the start of the year, Tulsa would have been a 24-point favorite. Now, Tulsa's problem this year has been the fact that they've been playing down to their opponents. In the opener, they had a bunch of suspensions. Remember there's that brawl in the Mississippi State-Tulsa game? Well, they were missing a bunch of players for the UC Davis game. But the Oklahoma State game, they were leading in the fourth quarter. The Ohio State game, it shows a 21-point loss. But if you look closer at that, in the fourth quarter against a powerful Ohio State, the score is 27-20. Ohio State put 2 scores on in the final 3 minutes and 7 seconds to make it appear like a blowout, including an interception return for a touchdown. But they gave Ohio State everything they wanted, 501 to 508. Later, they took on Cincinnati, gave them everything they wanted. They had a 446 to 390 yard edge. This is a good Tulsa team. Now, they do play down to their opponents many times, but this is a bowl game. So it's a game where you don't play down to the level of your opponent. We saw that last year. I had Mississippi State in that game, and I felt fortunate at the end of the game that we won. Like I said, Tulsa in the bowl game against Mississippi State had a 484 to 271 yard edge, but Mississippi State got the win. So this is a good Tulsa team. Old Dominion's taking on a soft schedule. Both teams come into this 6-6. Now, here's the thing. Coming into the year, Old Dominion had 0 expectations. Their over-under win total in Vegas was 3.5. They hadn't played football last year. No one was expecting them to be to a bowl. This is gravy for them. They've got what they wanted this year. Winning this game and avoiding a losing season is not major. They're happy to be here. Meanwhile, when you take a look at Tulsa, 6-6, Coach Montgomery, despite last year's outstanding season, under a little bit of fire recently, so they don't want to have a losing season going into a bowl. So you've got the better team. Now, I'm going to show you my Inside the Press Box checklist. Every bowl game, I do this checklist. And I do the bowl game, I just look at the positions, go down the line, give a check where a team deserves like a 1-point or a 2-point edge, and add them all up at the end. And I do this prior to handicapping the bowl game. And I try to look at each position separately. So in other words, I'm just thinking quarterbacks, just thinking running backs, and then I like to see where it comes up at the end. Now, the checklist only has Tulsa by 10.5, but that is still pretty significant. And 2 of the points here, or 1.5, come into Old Dominion for the site. They're a lot closer in this one. The game's being played in Myrtle Beach. They're in Virginia Beach, so they're fairly close, 260 miles away. Tulsa's 970 miles away. That's why they've got that advantage. They also have a special teams advantage. Old Dominion's been playing very good special teams. In fact, on the year, they're my number 33 special teams. Tulsa's number 113. All the other categories, though, line of scrimmage, we got a solid edge on the offensive line, defensive line, so we should control the line of scrimmage. We've got a solid edge on defense, each of the categories. We've got a coach that's been to bowl games before in Montgomery versus a coach who's in his first bowl game and just happy to be there. And then, of course, the schedule at the bottom is huge for Tulsa. Tulsa's taking on my number 67 schedule. That's right up here. And ODU is taking on the number 124 schedule. So the checklist has Tulsa by 10.5. That's close to the spread. But sometimes if you have a lot of check marks like that, generally it means that it's more like a 14-point favorite. The spread in this game, Tulsa is Minus, let me take a look here, -9 against Old Dominion. So you've got the better team. You've got the motivation. I'm going to take Tulsa -9 over Old Dominion in the Myrtle Beach Bowl. Your second bowl game, did we even look at that? Yeah, we looked at that here. We saw what the seasons did. Okay, your second bowl game we're going to take a look at is App State against Western Kentucky. So we're going to put Western Kentucky over here. We are going to put App State. Where's App State? Over here. Now, the first thing I want to point out is that App State's had three losses this year. They lost to Miami of Florida by 2, and then they just struggled against Louisiana twice on the road in both those games. Other than that, they've been a very dominant team. Dominant offensively, dominant defensively. In fact, their defense giving up just 327 yards per game, holding opponents to 78 yards per game below their season average. That's number 11 in the country. They've got a strong run game, averaging 4.7 yards per carry, and they could throw the ball. I remember Chase Bryce last year at Duke was a turnover machine. This year, Chase Bryce, 23 touchdowns, just 10 interceptions. Much better protecting the football this year in the App State offense. So good offense, very good defense. Meanwhile, West Kentucky, you know them. They throw the football. Bailey Zappi, amazing numbers, 5,531 yards passing. He's got 56 touchdown passes, just 11 interceptions. I believe he's 3 or 4 touchdowns away from setting the NCAA or tying the NCAA record for touchdown passes in the season. But once again, they've been playing in the weaker CUSA conference. These guys have been playing in the stronger Sun Belt. The Sun Belt is stronger with Louisiana, Coastal Carolina. They've got better teams this year. They also played East Carolina, Miami of Florida. Meanwhile, West Kentucky was playing Indiana. They did play Michigan State this year. So anyway, they opened up 1-4. They beat Old Dominion, FIU, Charlotte, Middle Tennessee, Rice, FAU. They did beat Marshall 53-21. But one thing I want to point out in that game, I had Western Kentucky. We were down 14-0. It didn't look good. In fact, it was 14-3. Marshall's lost their quarterback, Wells, to injury. Once he went out, Western Kentucky dominated the game. Then in Western Kentucky's last game here against UTSA, let's take a look at that. They played a team that could run the ball and throw the ball with good defense, like UTSA. I would actually say App State's a better team than UTSA, and they've got the same balance that UTSA does. Look at this. UTSA led that thing 42-13. Now, yes, Western Kentucky has backdoor potential, as they showed here. Got a lot of touchdowns late, including this one with 3:58 left to only lose by 8. But the line in this game, App State's only a 3-point favorite. So even if they have a big lead and give up some touchdowns late, probably won't come back to hurt you. And they'll get serious if the game gets even close. So that's why I like the 3-point spread. If we take a look at the checklist on this one, let's see where we have our checklist on this one. Okay, it's got to be on, oh, there it is. Let me pop on that for a second, bring that up. All right, so the checklist on this one, we're going to click there. This is, once again, what I put in inside the press box for every single game. I break it down like this. Quarterback edge, definitely Western Kentucky. Running back edge, though, clearly to App State. App State's got some dangerous running backs like Nate Noel and Cameron Peoples. They definitely have the running back edge. In fact, Western Kentucky's top rusher, Whittington, just 452 yards. Receivers, naturally, Western Kentucky. Offensive line, though, strong in the favor of App State. In fact, App State was up there in our Joe Moore conversations as one of the top offensive lines in the country. They almost made the finalist list. They were in the semifinalist list. So they do have a very good offensive line. Clear edge on defense, as you know. Defensive line, linebacker, DBs. Sight edge favors App State in this one, as App State is just slightly closer, but their fans travel extremely well. I think App State will have a slight crowd edge. Down here, special teams, I like it. App State has got the special teams edge, number 6 in the country. And then the schedule edge, they've taken on the tougher schedule. The one thing I don't have up here, and I probably should have put a check mark on it, is in the bowl games, and I did not check it, and that's a flaw on my part. Tyson Helton against Sean Clark is the fact that Sean Clark is 2-0 in bowls. App State is 6-0 in bowl games. In fact, App State has won their last 4 bowl games by 34, 32, 14, and 28. So this probably should have been 7.5 check marks here. I probably should have given him a coaching edge in the fact that Clark's 2-0 in bowl games. And App State, he's been a part of all their bowl games. He was the offensive line coach there prior to being the head coach for those 2 games. And they have just dominated. 6-0 in their bowl games. Check out your magazine. And when you're looking at the bowls, flip to your magazine page. And right there, we've got the last 6 bowl games listed. You'll see App State's won each and every one of them. We've got the Coaches Bowl record listed up in the Coaches Bowl spot. So use your I'm sure you're still using your magazine right now. And as you will see, App State's got some advantages in the fact that they are 6-0 in bowl games, and they've won their last 5 all by big margins. So I'm going to go with App State -3 over Western Kentucky. That's your first game. That's an 11 o'clock a.m. kickoff on Saturday morning. I've got one more little nugget for you on the bowls, but before I get to it, just giving you an update where we're at. I am hard at work at the magazine right now, guys. Pressing. I'm on team number 15. I'm writing the teams whose seasons are complete. So what I do is I get the stack of reading. I'm currently on Northwestern, only about 250 pages on Northwestern. But I go through every article that's written about the team the entire year, get all the injuries that happen at each of the positions, update them, and update my power ratings, and then write each of the positions based on what I just read. I've gone through their entire season all over again after I already watched all the games on TV during the season, but this brings it all clear. I know everything I need to know about Northwestern. They're going to be team number 16 that I'm done with. There's 130 teams to go, so this is a 6.5-month project, and I do a 3 write-through process. The first write-through is now, the postseason write-through. The second one is the spring. We add in the freshmen, get all the spring transfers, and the portal, thank goodness this year, the portal closes May 1st. So we don't put the magazine out till June 15th. We will capture the majority of those portal moves. So that's a great thing for this year's magazine. Last year, the portal didn't close until July 1st. And some stuff happened. Just a few things happened after the magazine went out. This year, I think we'll be pretty safe in getting them all in. And then the third write-through is after I talk to the coaches. I talked to over 100 of the coaches last year. It spends about an hour on each team going over each and every player with them, get something on every player on every team from the coaches, and then I do the third write-through on it. So the first write-through, we're making progress. It's a 6.5-month stretch. A lot of work left to be done on the magazine, though. Finally, your last little nugget I'll throw at you. Chris Creighton, 30-9 as a dog. He's the head coach of Eastern Michigan. And while he's 0-3 in bowl games, he's lost those 3 bowl games by just 10 points combined. So they've all been close. And when you look at Liberty, I'll tell you what, when I watched Liberty earlier in the year, this is not an official play, by the way, Malik Willis looked great against UAB. Right here, I had him projected in maybe the top 15 of the draft, maybe higher. But Malik Willis, at this point in the season, had a ratio, let's count it up, 3-0, 7-0, 10-0, 11-0 ratio right here on October the 2nd. Let's see what his ratio is for the season. 24-12. That means the last 7 games, 13 touchdown passes, 12 interceptions. They've given up 51 sacks, 14.4%. So if you're looking for a dog, Eastern Michigan may be a good way to look when you've got a guy in Chris Creighton who's 30-9 against the spread as a dog. All right, like I said, please subscribe. Please hit the bell. That way you'll be notified when the next Phil Steele Plus Tour with selections is up for you. There's 3 selections for you, and I'll have more for you probably towards the middle of next week. And thanks for taking the Phil Steele Plus Tour with selections today.